So go ahead and get in your meditation posture, whatever is a comfortable position for you. In front of the computer is often not where we'd love to be meditating, but we do our best on Zoom. So try to get comfortable with your back straight, your shoulders even. Your hands can be resting in your lap or on your knees. If you have your tongue on the roof of your mouth, right behind your front teeth, that keeps you from having to swallow constantly. And your eyes can either be closed or in a hooded gaze. And let's take a moment to just do a body scan to just make sure that we're completely relaxed. For all of you, I think it's the end of a long day. For me, it's still early in the morning. But if it's the end of a long day, you might have some tension or tightness in your body. So starting at the crown of the head and just moving your awareness through your body, relax your forehead, your eyes. Notice your jaw. As much as possible, we're breathing through our nose, not through our mouth. So keeping our mouth closed, but your jaw not clenched and tight, your jaw relaxed. And then your neck and shoulders. And this is a place that we often hold tightness or tension. And just trying to relax into your neck and shoulders. Lift your sternum, open up your chest, get that nice upright posture. And relaxing the belly. Relaxing the buttocks. Relaxing all the way down to the feet. And then we'll round off this initial settling of the body with 3 deep breaths. So deep diaphragmatic breath all the way down to the diaphragm. And this activates that soothing system that we were talking about before. It activates the vagus nerve. So all the way down to the diaphragm, all the way out, 3 times. And then after the 3 deep diaphragmatic breaths, just taking a moment to settle with the natural respiration, the natural sensations of the breath in the body. Just for a few moments to settle the mind. So keeping your attention on the bodily sensations wherever you can feel them, maybe the diaphragm, maybe the chest as the lungs expand and contract, maybe the nostrils. And when your attention wanders, just releasing any distraction and returning to the breath. And now take a moment to draw from memory, thinking of a time, maybe a time recently when you became angry. And anger is a whole family of emotions that can range anywhere from irritation and frustration all the way up to rage, belligerence. So it could be any level of anger, even just irritation, frustration. So draw from your memory. It can be helpful to think of something recent that's a little bit fresh, or maybe there's an example that is recurring in your life that you'd like to bring some attention to. And as that example comes to mind, just think of the details of the situation, the person, the situation, the incident, what happened, who said what, all of the details. And you might feel that you're slightly triggered for anger again. You might start to feel it in your body. Try not to be too flooded with emotion, but it's okay. You might feel a little bit triggered. Memory is one of the triggers of emotion. But if you feel that it's starting to feel overwhelming, just go back to the breath. But recalling as many details as you can. Bringing awareness to the trigger of that anger, what was happening, what was the incident, who was there, what was said. And as you bring this episode to mind, and maybe start to re-trigger the emotion of anger through your memory, notice how it feels in your body. Are there any physical sensations that accompany that experience? And then thinking again of that incident that you brought to mind, what did your experience of anger make you do? Did you respond in any way physically or verbally? What was your behavior when you became angry? There are different styles of anger, and sometimes those styles are learned. Sometimes with anger, we do react strongly, verbally or physically. Sometimes with anger, we withdraw completely. Stonewalling is a phrase for a behavior. Sometimes we enact when we're angry, which is just shutting down completely, not interacting. So what's your anger style? Maybe in the way that you responded in the incident that you drew from memory is representative of a certain anger style. So do you have a typical anger style, and where did you learn this style? Are you reacting in a way that maybe one of your parents did? And then if you've recognized a certain anger style, a certain typical way that you respond, what are some of the payoffs of this style, some of the benefits of this style? And what are some of the drawbacks of this style? So are there any advantages to this anger style? And what are the drawbacks? Maybe in terms of how it makes you and other people feel. What's the impact on other people in your life? And now we're going to investigate if any of the antidotes that we talked about earlier might help you in this situation, might attenuate that trigger of anger. So first, can you imagine what was going on for the other person? Can you put yourself in the other person's shoes, try and see things from their perspective? Just take a moment and see. Often with things that are triggering of anger, our perspective narrows to just our own self-interest, but try and put yourself in the other person's shoes. Take their perspective. And from that insight, sometimes we notice that we're taking things really personally, as if it were intended to harm us. But when we put ourselves in the other person's shoes, we see that the other person's behavior really had nothing to do with us. So perhaps you get an insight that you don't need to take it so personally. Could it be that the other person is mirroring your own unwanted qualities? So is there something about their behavior that's triggering of your anger because they're mirroring an aspect of yourself that you're rejecting or that's unwanted? Maybe on some level, maybe it's not as extreme as their behavior, but maybe there's something there. Check. Are they mirroring some unwanted behavior in yourself? And then check in that situation, did you become angry because you had a need that wasn't being met? And perhaps an expectation of the other person's behavior. So how much of that anger that you experienced was because you weren't getting your needs met, maybe expecting something from the other person? And then check for an underlying emotion. Often anger can be a secondary emotion, and what's more basic is a feeling like fear or hurt or sadness or some kind of vulnerability. So see if underlying the anger, was there some feeling of vulnerability or some underlying emotion that you were actually trying to protect yourself from feeling by getting angry. Can you hold the space and get an insight into that underlying emotion? And we say that all emotions have a function to give us information, important information. What was the message of that anger? Is that anger trying to tell you something? Maybe that there's changes you need to make in your life, maybe changes about the way you're relating to someone. Can you get the underlying message of that anger? And then perhaps that situation that you brought to mind is something that is a recurring trigger for you. Do you need to just keep a healthy distance from that triggering object, whether it's a certain situation, a certain kind of conversation, or a specific person, until you develop more strategies for your anger? Again, this isn't denial, it's just wisdom in the short term to just make the choice as much as possible to avoid something that's going to be overwhelming, especially if we feel our behavior can be destructive. So is there a choice you need to make in terms of avoiding this kind of situation? And then taking a moment to just think of these different strategies and which ones felt the most effective for your situation, the most important. Which ones would you like to remember and implement and bring more awareness to in your life with your own episodes of anger? And then just taking a moment to reflect on this work that you've done, focusing on anger like this, bringing these episodes to mind, requires courage and bravery. So just giving yourself a moment of kindness and compassion for the work that you've done. You might like to bring your hands to your heart, one hand or both hands on your chest, just symbolizing this self-kindness and self-compassion, giving yourself a moment of soothing an affirmation and rejoicing for this courageous work that you've done to try and bring mindfulness to your episode of anger. And then just settling again with the breath for a few moments.